By the end of summer 1969, fear had learned a new shape. It arrived folded inside envelopes, signed with symbols, delivered through newspapers. The Zodiac Killer was no longer a rumor. He was a presence. And he was watching how the world reacted to him. Every headline, every police statement, every public plea. He didn't just kill. He curated. The need to escalate. For men like Zodiac, silence is dangerous. Attention fades. Fear cools. So escalation becomes necessary. Not just more violence. Different violence. Something unmistakable. Something that would force people to stop seeing him as a faceless shooter in the dark, and start seeing him as something else. Lake Berryessa, September 27, 1969. It was daylight. That alone made it different. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were sitting near the water at Lake Berryessa, enjoying a calm afternoon. There was no reason to be afraid. That's when the man appeared. He didn't rush. He didn't hide. He approached openly. What he wore changed everything. A black hood, a homemade mask, clip-on sunglasses sewn into fabric, and on his chest, the symbol, the Zodiac crosshair. This was no longer a crime. This was a performance. The man spoke calmly, almost politely. He told them he was an escaped convict. He said he needed money and a car. His voice was steady, reassuring. He tied them up, carefully. Then he stabbed them, repeatedly, with control, with time. This was not rage. This was ritual. After the attack, the man walked back to Brian Hartnell's car. And there, with a marker, he wrote dates, times, locations, a list, like entries in a journal. Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs, Lake Berryessa. Signed with the symbol. He didn't just want credit. He wanted continuity. Cecilia Shepard died 2 days later. Brian Hartnell survived. And his survival did something the Zodiac hadn't planned. It gave police a description. Not of a shadow. Not of a silhouette. But of a man. The shift in identity. Up until this point, Zodiac had existed mostly in ink and gunfire. But Lake Berryessa gave him a body, height, weight, voice. It narrowed the myth. And narrowing frightened him. Because myths lose power when they become human. So once again, he escalated. San Francisco, October 11th, 1969. The city was alive. Crowded. Lit. Loud. The last place anyone expected the Zodiac to strike. Paul Stine was a taxi driver. He picked up a passenger. A normal fare. Nothing unusual. Minutes later, Paul Stine was dead. One gunshot to the head. The killer wiped down the cab. Witnesses saw him. Teenagers looking out of an apartment window. They described a man calmly walking away. Not running. Walking. As if nothing had happened. Police radioed the description. And made a mistake. They described the suspect incorrectly. When officers passed the Zodiac on the street, they let him go. They didn't know. And by the time they realized, he was gone. The letter that changed everything. Days later, another envelope arrived. Inside it was a piece of Paul Stine's shirt. Blood-stained. Cut cleanly. Proof. Not just that he had killed, but that he had been there. Watching. Listening. Correcting police errors in his letter. Mocking them. This wasn't arrogance. It was dominance. From this point on, the Zodiac letters grew darker. More personal. More erratic. He spoke of collecting slaves in the afterlife. He drew diagrams of bombs. Threatened school buses again. Each threat was more theatrical than the last. Because now, he wasn't competing with police. He was competing with his own legend. The media's role. The newspapers printed his letters. They debated stopping. But fear sold. And Zodiac knew it. He controlled the tempo. He punished silence. Rewarded attention. When one paper didn't print his letter fast enough, he lashed out. He demanded acknowledgement. This was no longer about killing people. It was about existing in the public consciousness. Zodiac had done something rare. He had turned murder into media. And once something becomes media, it spreads. The psychological turn. Investigators began noticing changes. Early letters were structured, focused. Later letters were scattered, obsessive, contradictory. He made mistakes. He repeated himself. He grew angry when ignored. This wasn't loss of intelligence. It was desperation. The mask was slipping, and he knew it. Why he stopped killing? This is the question that haunts the case. Why did the murders stop? Some believe pressure forced him underground. Others believe he lost control of the narrative. But the most disturbing theory is simpler. He didn't need to kill anymore. The fear was already alive. And fear doesn't need new blood to survive. The beginning of silence. After 1969, confirmed killings ended. Letters slowed. Then became sporadic. Then strange. Claims of crimes that couldn't be verified. As if he wanted credit without effort. As if the act itself mattered less than the idea of it. This is often where legends decay. But Zodiac didn't fade. He lingered. The man behind the mask. Investigators chased suspects. Arthur Lee Allen became the most famous. He had weapons. He lived nearby. He spoke strangely. But evidence failed. DNA didn't match. Handwriting didn't match conclusively. Nothing held. And every failed suspect strengthened the myth. Because mystery grows stronger with every wrong answer. The fear that remained. By the early 1970s, the Zodiac had become something else. Not an active killer, but a shadow over California. Parents warned children. Drivers avoided certain roads. People remembered, even without new bodies. What Zodiac proved? Zodiac proved something terrifying. That a killer doesn't need to keep killing. To keep hurting people. That fear can survive on uncertainty alone. That mystery is more durable than truth. And as the letters faded, the question remained. Was he done? Or was he simply satisfied?